Right now, in this very moment, there is something quietly draining your power, and you don't even notice it. It's not your lack of discipline. It's not your lack of motivation. It's the fact that your attention, your energy, your focus is being pulled in 100 different directions every single day. You wake up and before your mind even has a chance to breathe, you reach for your phone. Messages, notifications, opinions, noise. You haven't even started your day and already you've given your mind away. You scroll through other people's lives. You react to things that don't matter. You absorb emotions that were never yours to carry. And slowly, without realizing it, you lose something important: clarity. Because clarity doesn't exist in noise. It doesn't grow in distraction. It doesn't survive in a mind that is constantly reacting. And that's where most people stay, stuck in reaction mode. They talk too much. They explain too much. They seek validation before they even take action. They announce their goals. They share their plans. They look for approval before they even trust themselves. And every time they do that, they lose a piece of their power. Because power doesn't come from being heard. It comes from being grounded. Think about it. Every time you explain yourself to someone who doesn't care, you weaken your position. Every time you react instantly to something emotional, you lose control. Every time you check what others think before deciding what you think, you give away authority over your own life. And deep down, you know this. You feel it. That sense of being scattered, that quiet frustration of knowing you're capable of more but not moving the way you should. You're busy but not effective, moving but not progressing, talking but not building. And the worst part? You don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. You need less noise. The ancient Stoics understood this better than anyone. They didn't chase attention. They didn't announce every move. They didn't react to every situation. They practiced something far more powerful. They turned inward. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself again and again that real strength comes from controlling the mind, not the world. Epictetus taught that it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond that defines your life. Seneca believed that delaying your reaction is the highest form of intelligence. They weren't just writing ideas. They were fighting the same battle you're fighting right now, the battle against distraction, reaction, and wasted energy. And they discovered something simple but powerful. If you want clarity, you have to stop giving yourself away. That means learning two things: focus and silence. Focus means bringing your attention back to what you can control. Not other people, not opinions, not outcomes, just your thoughts, your actions, your effort, because that's where your real power lives. In silence is where that power grows. Not silence because you have nothing to say, but silence because you choose not to waste your energy. Silence when you're tempted to explain yourself. Silence when you're tempted to react. Silence when your ego wants to prove something. Because not everything deserves your response. And not everyone deserves your energy. Most people don't understand this. They think speaking more gives them control. They think reacting quickly makes them strong. But it's the opposite. The more you talk without action, the weaker you look. The more you react emotionally, the easier you are to control. But when you stay composed, when you pause, when you choose your words carefully, you become different. You become someone who is not easily shaken, not easily influenced, not easily distracted. And that changes everything. Because now, instead of chasing attention, you start building something real. You stop announcing your goals and start working on them quietly. You stop explaining your vision and start executing it. You stop reacting to every little thing and start choosing what actually deserves your focus. And slowly, something shifts inside you. Your mind becomes clearer. Your decisions become sharper. Your actions become more intentional. You don't feel rushed anymore. You don't feel pulled in every direction. You feel in control, not because the world changed, but because you did. And here's the part most people never realize. The less you seek validation, the more confident you become. The less you react, the more powerful you feel. The less you speak, the more your words matter. Because now, when you do speak, it comes from clarity, not confusion. It comes from strength, not insecurity. It comes from intention, not impulse. And people notice that. They may not say it out loud, but they feel it. They feel your presence. Because you're no longer trying to prove anything. You're simply being. And that's rare. That's powerful. That's what separates those who drift through life from those who lead it. But this doesn't happen overnight. At first, it feels uncomfortable. You'll feel the urge to check your phone, to respond instantly, to explain yourself, to share your plans. That urge will be strong because you've trained yourself to seek external input for so long. But every time you resist it, you get stronger. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you take your power back. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you build control. And over time, it becomes natural. You don't feel the need to explain everything anymore. You don't feel the need to react to everything anymore. You don't feel the need to prove yourself anymore. Because you know who you are. And you know what you're building. So you move differently. You think differently. You live differently. You wake up with intention. You start your day without noise, without distraction, without giving your attention away. You decide what matters before the world tells you what should matter. You work with focus, not jumping from one thing to another, but giving your full attention to what actually moves your life forward. When distractions come, you don't fall into them. You observe them. You decide whether they deserve your energy. Most of the time they don't, and you let them pass, like they were never important to begin with. And as you keep practicing this, something deeper begins to change. You stop feeling the need to rush. You realize that urgency was never real. It was created by everything outside you. Deadlines that don't matter, opinions that don't last, voices that don't know your path. And for the first time in a long time, you slow down. Not in a lazy way, but in a controlled way. You move with intention. Every action becomes deliberate. Every decision becomes clear. You're no longer reacting to life, you're directing it. And that shift is everything. Because now, when something unexpected happens, you don't panic. You pause. You breathe. You observe. And in that small space between what happens and how you respond, you find your power. Most people never find that space. They react instantly. Someone criticizes them. They defend. Something goes wrong. They complain. Someone disrespects them. They explode. But you don't. You've trained yourself to hold that moment. And in that moment, you choose your response instead of letting your emotions choose it for you. That's control. That's strength. That's freedom. Because the person who controls their reactions cannot be controlled by anyone else. And once you understand that, you stop being easy to manipulate. You stop being pulled into arguments that don't matter. You stop wasting energy on people who don't add value. You stop giving your attention to things that don't deserve it. You become selective. Selective with your time. Selective with your words. Selective with your energy. And that selectiveness creates a new level of clarity. You start seeing patterns you never noticed before. You notice how people try to pull you into drama. You notice how distractions appear exactly when you're about to focus. You notice how your own mind tries to escape discomfort by seeking easy stimulation. And instead of falling into those patterns, you step back, you watch them, you understand them. And once you understand something, it loses its power over you. That's when real growth begins. Because now you're not just reacting differently, you're thinking differently. You stop chasing quick rewards. You stop needing instant results. You start valuing depth over speed, consistency over intensity, discipline over emotion. And this is where most people quit, because this phase is quiet. There's no applause, no validation, no recognition. You're working, but no one sees it. You're improving, but no one notices. And your mind will try to trick you. It will say, why aren't you sharing this? Why aren't you telling people? Why not show your progress? But you stay silent because you understand something most people don't. When you announce too early, you lose momentum. When you seek validation, you weaken your drive. When you talk more than you act, you build nothing. So you keep going quietly. Day by day, step by step, you build your habits. You sharpen your focus. You strengthen your discipline. And something incredible happens. Your confidence starts coming from action, not words. You don't need to tell people you're improving. You feel it. You don't need to prove anything. Your results speak for you. And that kind of confidence is unshakable because it's real. It's not based on opinions. It's not dependent on approval. It's built from within. And when your confidence comes from within, no one can take it from you. Not criticism, not failure, not rejection, nothing. You become grounded, calm, even when things go wrong, focused, even when distractions appear, disciplined, even when you don't feel like it. And people start noticing, not because you're trying to impress them, but because you're different. You don't talk like everyone else. You don't react like everyone else. You don't chase like everyone else. You move with purpose, and that stands out. But by now, you don't even care about standing out because you're no longer living for attention. You're living for alignment. Your actions match your goals. Your habits match your values. Your life starts moving in the direction you actually want. And that's when things start working. Not magically, not instantly, but consistently. You make better decisions. You waste less time. You focus on what actually matters. And over time, those small changes compound. Days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months. And suddenly you're not the same person anymore. The person who used to wake up and scroll is now waking up with intention. The person who used to react to everything now chooses when to respond. The person who used to seek validation now creates value. And the best part, it didn't require a perfect plan. It didn't require extreme motivation. It started with something simple. You stopped giving yourself away. You stopped reacting to everything. You stopped explaining everything. You stopped chasing everything. And you started focusing on yourself. That's it. Simple but powerful. And now you understand something that most people never will. Clarity doesn't come from doing more. It comes from removing what doesn't matter. Power doesn't come from being loud. It comes from being in control. And growth doesn't come from seeking attention. It comes from working in silence. So now the question is, what will you do with this? Because knowing this changes nothing, but practicing it changes everything. From this moment forward, you have a choice. You can go back to the noise, back to distraction, back to reaction, or you can choose focus. You can choose silence. You can choose control. And if you do, your life will start to move in a direction you once thought was impossible, not because the world changed, but because you finally did. And once you experience that shift, you never go back. Because you realize everything you were searching for was never outside you. It was always within you, waiting for you to take it back.